الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue the matter of al-qasam, the distribution of time between one who has multiple spouses or multiple wives. As we continue in the Bulugh al-Maram by the great illustrious scholar al-Hafid ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah. And we said, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, excuse me, I just... So we say, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, in the tremendous book of Bulugh al-Maram, where it's from those books that if one is able to memorize the ahadith in it, then it will be a good basis for him in the aspect of fiqh, or in the aspect of jurisprudence. When we stop and we finish the chapter, alhamdulillah, by the permission of Allah, Jalla wa Azz, alladhi bi ni'matihi tatimmu as-salihat, we completed the chapter in regards to nikah, which now, like I said, I think it was more deserving that we continue in the chapter in regards to how does one divide up his time with his families. Due to the fact that a lot of brothers and sisters are ignorant of these matters before they actually indulge in them. And we know, based upon the asl in which Imam al-Bukhari laid down in the book Usul al-Thalatha, القول العلم قبل القول والعمل, that one has to have attained knowledge before statements and actions. We notice that a lot of brothers and sisters in these days and times with al-asaf, they do the opposite. They indulge in a matter, they do the action, then they attain the ilm. Rather, what is incumbent upon us is the opposite, to give precedence to knowledge before you do the act. Especially in this matter of multiple spouses or wives, where I think we have reached a time where women and men both see together that the number or the quantity of men has dropped dramatically due to the fact of all that is taking place in this country of fornication and venereal diseases, STDs, people are dying from AIDS, and what has dropped significantly is the quantity of men due to what has transpired in the streets of violence, of death, incarceration, and also now a lot of men are becoming homosexuals. So which comes as a result of all of this and other things and other matters likewise has decreased and minimized the quantity of men significantly, where we now see that the number of women has a tremendous influx dramatically. And I think everywhere, in every place now, everybody is starting to see it, even the non-Muslims. There's women everywhere. But however, the number of men has declined significantly to the point where there's not enough number of men to cover the number of the amount of women that are out there, which the Prophet ﷺ has informed. And it's going to get worse. There's going to be more of an influx of women and less number of men due to the wars that have took place and the amount of death due to the fact that the ulama mentioned in this regard, that the reason why, or the reason for this, is because men are subjected to places and circumstances where death more than likely might happen, more than women. Due to the fact that men were created in order to go out, what they were created for, to do jobs that were rough. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instilled in them the hormone of testosterone for strength. So they can indulge in matters that are what? That are rough and a little bit, that indulges a little bit of difficulty, in contrast to women. As you know, women, when they become in the state of puberty, they develop breasts and hips immense, which is readying them and preparing them for reproduction. Men, they're supposed to develop strength to prepare them for those different type of difficult jobs that are out there. So, for this reason, men are more subjected for those circumstances that will cause them death more than women, from the wars, from the violence that have taken place on the streets. And for that reason, it is becoming even more to know, especially the Muslim, to have knowledge of the affair of more than likely, even myself, I'm now teaching my daughters and my children, my daughters especially, that more than likely when you grow up, you're going to more than likely have to have and deal in a plural marriage situation. Preparing my daughters for this, mentally and religiously. More than likely when I'm older and you're at my age now, in your late 20s or 30s or what have you, you're more than likely going to have to probably marry a man that's going to have another wife. That's where it's going to. So for that reason, if that's the case, then one has to attain ilm, so he can now deal with the matter, conducting it properly, where he does not fall into dhulm. So we talked about last lesson, where this chapter definitely enlightens one in the affair of having multiple wives or what have you. For a person that fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, he wants to indulge in these matters which pleases his Lord. As far as the non-Muslim, or the one who's a Muslim but he has transgressed the bounds, then of course, by all means, then they go out and enjoy women in a fashion that, whether it's pleasing or displeasing to Allah, they don't really care. But as far as the Muslim who truly fears Allah and knows that he's going to be held accountable, then he indulges in these matters correctly, with the proper ilm, proper etiquette, and knowing the ahkam. So the ahkam that we covered, number one, in light of the ayat, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, وَلَن تَسْتَطِيعُوا أَن تَعْدِلَ بَيْنَ النِّسَاءِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتُمْ فَلَا تَمِيلُوا كُلَّ الْمَيْلِ فَتَجْعَلُهَا كَالْمُعَلَّقَةِ. We talked about this ayah, and it's going to more than likely reoccur again throughout these lessons. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, you will never be able to be just between your women, even if you had the utmost desire. For do not lean a total leaning, or do not be inclined towards one a total inclination. Verily you will make her as if she is, or in the state of suspended animation, or as if she's just hung in the air. So we said in regards to this matter that, number one, what is the meaning of al-adl? As you'll find that Ahl Ilm, especially when I was listening to some of the recordings of Imam al-Albani, rahimahullah, and likewise Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili, hafidhullah wa ra'ah, wa talallahu fi umrah, bil a'mal as-salihah, that he mentioned and said that, number one, before a person indulges in this matter of multiple wives, if one feels that he is not able to be just, then it's incumbent upon him to stay away from this matter. But however, what is the meaning of just, or being just, and being impartial, and being fair? What is the meaning of that? It's like we said last lesson. Because a lot of women use this against men and our brothers, and they say, you have to be just. طيب, but what is the definition of it? There's certain affairs, if you notice in the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not lean a total inclination. So that means that there is an inclination that that is in the boundaries of our religion, where he does not have to be absolutely just in it. Those matters, as like we said last week, which is number one, al-mahabba. We saw al-mahabba, number one, of love of a man's heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of that. For every human being and every individual, especially a man, is inclined towards who he loves more than another. For rarely a person does not have any control over that. So number one is al-mahabba. For the heart is between the hands of Allah Ta'ala, in which he controls. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. But at the same time, the abd does have his choice. But ultimately, what you incline towards and what you love, or who you love more than another, is something that's not in your hands. We said that the hadith, if you looked in your books in Bulugh al-Maram, where the Prophet ﷺ made that dua, even though Imam al-Albani said the isnad is da'if, but the meaning is correct, where Imam al-Albani, like we said, used this hadith in order to show that it is permissible to make this dua, as we inaugurated the chapter with, and the great Imam al-Hafidh ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, likewise, in the beginning of the chapter, started the chapter off with the same dua, which is what? Allahumma, هذا قسمي فيما أملك فلا تلمني فيما تملك ولا أملك. The Prophet ﷺ said that this is my qasmi fima amlik, that this is my distribution of what I own, and do not hold me accountable, or do not hold me blameworthy for what I do not own and what you own. What is the Prophet ﷺ talking about? He's talking about al-mahabba, number one. Al-mahabba, which is love, which is, as we know, mahabba is a'mal al-qulub. It's from the actions of the heart. It's from a'mal al-qulub. For al-mahabba is something that no one can control. Of course, we know, whether it be between our daughters, our children, or whether it be between our families, all of these things is not in our what? In our hands, based upon what this narration says. Right, everyone? However, what is incumbent upon one is not to display it. So what a person feels is one thing, and what a person manifests and shows is another. What a person feels is one thing, and what he manifests is what? هذا شيء آخر. فما يشعر به شيء وما يظهره للناس شيء آخر. It's something totally different. Something that is what? You do not have to show and display. And this shows clearly in which is in the hands of the men, and which men are capable of doing. But however, due to the ignorance and the lack of knowledge, and how men these days are so inclined, where they have traits of women, and they are emotionally unstable like women now these days, they are not able to do this. Which we'll talk about. A lot of them are not able to what? To manifest and show adl in what he manifests, even though it's obligatory upon him to do so. With al-asaf. So we talked about, just to conclude last week's lesson, we said that number one, what person cannot be just in is what he feels in his heart, which is in mahabba, which is love. As we know, we have our families, our children. You might be inclined towards what? Loving one than another, right? Everyone, it happens. You likewise will find women that you have, if you have spouses or wife, that you'll probably like one more than another. So that's a feeling. But what you display is something else. We said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, also likewise, just to conclude, what branches off, or what is subsidiary to mahabba, what branches off from love, is, like we said, jima', which is pertaining to intimacy. We said that, like we said, intimacy also likewise is a branch of mahabba. Whereas one does not have to be just in it, except that restriction that we mentioned from last lesson, which is what, everyone? Where what is wajib upon the husband is i'faf, that he has to keep his wife chaste. Even though he might be inclined towards one as far as being or liking one's appearance or one wife's appearance or wanting to be a little bit more inclined towards her as far as the aspect of intimacy. As far as the other family, then it's obligatory upon you to what? Make sure that she is chaste or chaste. That's obligatory and that's wajib. Even if you feel an inclination towards one besides the other. What is still obligatory upon the individual is still that he has to keep the other wife chaste. That is obligatory. We said the three categories that we broke down. Number one, we said, in that which is regards to what? An-nafaqah. As far as the affair of spending. We know that also the origin of a man, what is obligatory upon him is what, everyone? Is al-maskan, wal-malbas, wal-mat'am. What is obligatory upon a man initially is these three things. Which is what? Food, clothing, shelter. That's obligatory upon the man. That's obligatory and that's an obligation and a duty upon the man that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obliged upon the men. There's no excuse. Like I said, now if your wife wants to help you or your spouse wants to help you, that's another thing. But the origin of the hukm of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid down for His creation is that the men are responsible for these affairs. We talked about also likewise what goes outside of that is optional. It is not obligatory upon a man to pay a woman's insurance or a car note on her car. He does not have to pay that. That's not part of the obligation in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has binded upon the men. He does not have to pay her cell phone. He does not have to pay her insurance on her car, or he has to pay her car note, or he has to pay, for example, other obligations in which he pays towards the other children from another marriage. Women have to take in consideration. The men do not have to pay that. However, we tell the men in these days, especially in these days and times, which are we are in a state of emergency in regards to our families. We are in a state of emergency. We are in a state of emergency. When I say that, is when I tell, and I am upon this 100%, I think men and brothers out here should marry sisters and raise their children. Because this is an emergency we're in. The families are destroyed. And the only way that these children are going to be properly cultivated is that men step up to the plate and raise these children. We are in a state of emergency now. You understand, everyone? I'm not saying it's obligatory upon men to spend on another woman's child or on another man's child. We're not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. It's not. That's what keeps these women humble. Because women think, some of them have the i'tiqad that when I get married to a man, he's going to have to take care of me and my children. No, sister. The reality is he does not have to. That's not an obligation that Allah has binded upon him. That's not an obligation that he has to take care of another man's children from another man. That's the haqq. But at the same time, we are, like I said, we're in a state of emergency here. We're in a state of a crisis here in America. The family structure is absolutely almost decimated. The children now have so many issues. Children are growing up without any manners. They're not being cultivated properly due to the fact they're being raised by bitter women. And they have been made bitter due to trifling men. So that's the reason why I have highly emphasized upon brothers in these days to now step up to the plate and raise these children who are not your children. Please. Why I'm saying that? Because we are in a state of a crisis now. Step up to the plate. Look forward to the tremendous reward Allah is going to prepare for you if you raise these children you spend on them and they're not your children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to prepare for you a tremendous reward. Tremendous for taking care of a child that's not yours and raising him and cultivating and teaching him how to be a man. But however, we want to be in the middle and moderate. We say that these women, we say to our sisters, it is now obligatory that a man has to take care of children from another husband or another marriage. So stay humble. If you find a good man that comes into the picture and he really wants to be a father to your children and really raise them, and also likewise, brothers, when you raise these children, make them feel as if they're your children. Even though they're not. Make them feel that as if they're your children. Don't come in front of the people, hold children, for example, and say, these are my kids. Oh, this one isn't mine. That's my wife's child. You don't have to do. We know what's established. But psychologically and mentally, that will what? Mess with a child's heart. SubhanAllah Azim. Jazakallah khair. SubhanAllah Azim. You're not my father. We know what's the haqq. As far as writing it down or attribution of saying Ibn so-and-so, we know Islamically you can't say ascribe the child to you. That's clear. But make the child feel that's your child without any type of differentiation between yours and his or hers. Make those children feel comfortable, that they love, that they're receiving love, that they're in a family, that they're being raised and we're not all different. We're different. Yes, my dad's kids and then I'm from my mom. And then you find children saying this on their tongues and you be shaking your head like, A'udhu Billah. You really make that child feel that way? So what we're saying, ya ikhwa, if that's the case, step up to the plate and start raising these children. Now we want to talk about, like we said, in regards to what is wajib. For number one, in regards to nafaqah, in regards to spending, which is what did we say last lesson? Number one is, as far as spending, if a man has more than one wife, then it is obligatory upon him to spend as far as clothing, food, shelter. However, what did we say last week? We said that one spends according to what is or suits the condition of the other, or what suits the condition of the wives. For example, a man that has a 5-bedroom house with 6, 7 kids, if he has now a new wife, he does not have, and she doesn't have any children, then he has to now what? Buy a 5-bedroom house, even though she doesn't have any children, or what have you. He does not have to do that. Or, for example, he goes out to the market and he purchases all this food. He has 7 kids in the house, in one house. So he purchases all this food in bulk, for example. Buys it and purchases it in huge quantities. Buy it in bulk. So the other wife sees it. Why you can't have the same food in my house? You have to be adil. You have to be what? Just. And we say to the sister, no, he doesn't. He does not have to be what? Just in that regard, because he has 6, 7 children by one, and he doesn't have any by you. So that reason, he does not have to do that. Like we said last lesson in regards to appliances. Oh, his other house, he has 2 refrigerators. Yeah, that's because he has 8 kids. Well, I want another refrigerator in my house too. No, you do not. He does not have to buy you that, because that does not suit your needs. You're going to need 2 refrigerators to eat all that food? No, you don't. Absolutely not. 1 refrigerator suffices you. That's it. Another example, like we said last week. All you have to do is give the woman and the woman based upon what is kifaya, what is suffices them or what they have in the house suffices. A sister, you do not have to. Or excuse me, a man does not have to. Every time he goes outside, he purchases the clothes for himself, even though you have 30 overgarments in your closet or 20 overgarments in your closet, and you have more than what suffices you, that he still, when he goes out to the market or goes out to a place, purchases a thobe, he has to give you another overgarment because you have to clothe me for what you clothe yourself. No, he already is giving you what suffices you and more. So he does not have to do that. Is it clear, everyone? Likewise, in regards to what our brother said last week, food, likewise. If you have a refrigerator full of food and your husband is out and about and he does not have time to come back home to eat, and he purchases a meal out somewhere at a restaurant or what have you, he does not have to now purchase you the same food and bring it home to you, even though your refrigerator is filled with what? With food. You have in your house what suffices you, make yourself something to eat. The reason why I'm saying this is because our people are so petty. It's sad that I have to give these examples because we act like little children and little kids going tit for tat until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really tests us with something trivial here in this country where you do not get what you want, then you're going to be humble and be grateful for what you have. And I'm really scared that that day is coming where we're not going to have all these cars and all this food and all this other stuff that we waste and we take for granted every day. Until we grow up and start acting like adults and start acting like little kids in our houses. So we said, as far as a nafaqah, what is what obligatory, what is what everyone? What is obligatory as far as nafaqah? That the man gives both spouses or every individual spouse or wife what suits their condition. And I just gave numerous examples for this. A man that has a 5-bedroom house of what he's been living with his first wife, he does not have to give the new one. For that wife that he had for 7 or 8 years, which he's accumulated a lot of different things, he doesn't have to give you, sister, all in one night. Because that's adl. That's not adl. Number 2, what we talked about also likewise, which is in regards to which is more complete. Right, everyone? We said what is more complete is in regards to jima', which is in regard to intimacy. As we know, like we said, in regards to intimacy, it's not obligatory for a man to what? What is the qawl rajih? Is that a man does not have to be what? In regards to love and intimacy, he does not have to be just as far as in regards to what he likes more than the other. Of course, men, as we know, are different. More than likely, he's going to like an appearance of one wife without the other. That's the nature of human beings. Or he might like both of them, or he might like something about one which he does not like about the other, or one might possess a quality that the other one doesn't possess. Everybody's different. Everybody has their qualities of what is attractive. Right, everyone? So, in that regard, as far as love, or as far as intimacy, we said the person does not have to have justice in intimacy, except for what was the condition we made an exception? What is wajib is i'faf. That's it. What is wajib is i'faf, that you have to keep the other woman what? Satisfied and chaste. That's obligatory. As far as what is wajib also, and I think I forgot to mention this, is ihsan. Ihsan. That a person has to have good dealings, husn al-ishra, good dealings with both spouses as far as their treatment. As far as their treatment. And how you treat one. You don't come to one and you speak to her, you converse with her, and you smile at her face, you come in, you kiss her on the forehead, give her a hug, and then the other wife you go, as soon as you walk in the door, I'm going straight in the room, I'll talk to you later. You understand? For no individual reason, no reason at all. You just walk in the house, you just got an attitude with that wife, and then the other wife, you as if you're walking in a pasture or garden, just on bliss with one, and then the other is like, oh, here we go. I got to look at her. You understand? What is obligatory is ihsan for all of them. That's something men we can control. Something you can control. Is to have ihsan, good dealings with both. You smile on one, you smile on the other's face. You say kind words to one, you say kind words to the other. You understand, everyone? That is obligatory, ihsan. Also, likewise, in which we'll talk about today. This is another affair which we'll give details in, which is al-mabit. Al-mabit. That's the topic of today, which is spending time with one as far as in the nights. Notice that what was mentioned is what they call al-mabit. Al-mabit, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, in the Arabic language means to spend the night somewhere. To spend the night. To spend the night somewhere. So what is obligatory is the what? Is the nights. A lot of women forget this. They think, oh, the man has to stop through my house today. Just stop through. You can't just stop through. I don't understand. Sister, he's not wajib upon him to stop through in the day. What is obligatory is al-mabit. Now, if he wants to stop in one house just to say hi, sit with one for a couple of minutes, based upon what the Prophet ﷺ did, Jazahullah khairan. That's the good. But don't make it an obligation where you have to stop through this house, brother. If you want to be with me, you got to stop through this house. No, sister, based upon the ahkam of Islam and based upon what Allah and His Messenger have laid down as a sunnah, he does not have to. What is obligatory is al-mabit, spending the nights. That is an obligation. Now, from husnul khuluq, from good etiquette, if he would do what the Prophet ﷺ did. He used to visit his spouses or his wives during the day, sit with them, make sure they were good, make sure they were okay, talk to some of them for a minute, and then he would go out, alayhi salatu wasalam, and handle his affairs. So it would be from good etiquette, if he's able. And we know that's different according from one to another, because everybody's situation is different. One spouse might live close to the other. Some might live in another part of a city or another far distance or remote distance. So the difficulty of what is facilitated is different from one to the next. And sisters should work together as far as trying to keep these families together, taking consideration the circumstances of the people and not being selfish. And that is a word that I would love to bring in front of the Muslims and break it down. What is being selfish and how it is, and how we are so wrapped up in ourselves and we don't care about even our own spouses and our own children these days with al-asaf. So, what is obligatory as far as mabit, in which we'll talk about today, as far as how one spends the nights, in which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, inshallah. As far as traveling, how he divides his time up, or if he wants to bring, or one wife wants to accompany him in his travels, we'll talk about that likewise in the chapter. What is a good example is what the Prophet ﷺ, as we know, he loved Aisha radiallahu anha, in which majority of the wives of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, all of them knew that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, that Aisha was very close to him, and she was the one that he loved. In which it was even asked in the hadith, "Man ahabba an-nisa ilayk?" فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عائشة. فمن ومن أحب الرجال إليك؟ فقال عليه الصلاة والسلام أبو بكر. Who's the most beloved of men to you? The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said Abu Bakr. Who's the most beloved of women to you? He said Aisha radiallahu anha, his daughter, the daughter of Siddiq, right? And to the point where we know alayhi salatu wasalam on his deathbed, who did he die? In the lap of who? Aisha. And when he departed from the dunya, his saliva mixed with hers, in which he, alayhi salatu wasalam, right on his deathbed, cleansed his mouth with the siwak, until Aisha's brother, the great Sahabi Abdur-Rahman, had seen what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted, which was the siwak, in which it was broken. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said that he had cleansed his mouth, a cleansing matter, and I've never seen a person who cleansed it better than how he cleansed his mouth right before he died, alayhi salatu wasalam. So even when his departure from the dunya, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was still clean and still had his breath cleansed, alayhi salatu wasalam, in which he died right between the lap of Aisha radiallahu anha wa ardaha, to let us know that Aisha was the most beloved woman to him. Which is to show what? Which is to show how a person's heart can be inclined to one besides the other. But however, what is obligatory is that one does not show it in his characteristics or in his actions. In his actions and in his behavior and his conduct. طيب. As some of Ahl Ilm, based upon this hadith and others, was it obligatory upon the Prophet ﷺ to perform qasam, meaning to distribute his time equally amongst his wives? You'll find that Ahl Ilm differ in this regard. However, just to sum it up, They say that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was not obligatory upon him to properly distribute the times. It was not obligatory based upon the ayah. Where Allah Ta'ala says in his book, تُرْجِي مَنْ تَشَاءُ مِنْهُنْ وَتُؤْوِي إِلَيْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَمَنْ ابْتَغَيْتَ مِمَّنْ عَزَّلْتَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكَ. He says, تُرْجِي مَنْ تَشَاءُ مِنْهُنْ. He says, of course you come, or spend time, of course, with whom you will from amongst the women. And you also spend the night, or spend that night at the evenings with them, or who you will, or who you will like, or who you would like, and who you want to seek. مِمَّا عَزَّلْتَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكَ. And who you seek from one in which you want to stay away from, maybe, then there is no problem, and there's no haraj, and there's no junah. However, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, however, in this regard, wa alaykum as-salam, in regards to this, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, however, the Prophet ﷺ, even though it was not an obligation upon him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, even though it was an obligation, he still distributed his times properly. Why? Because we know that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was sent with the most best of character. And Allah Ta'ala had made his prophet in the most upright manner, where he ﷺ had the most exemplary and impeccable character. And part of that character is that he had what? He dealt with everyone justly, even though it wasn't a what? An obligation. So that was in his nature, ﷺ. Even though what happened with Sauda, radiallahu anha, where she became elderly, or she was also a woman who became a little bit more, her weight excessively as she became older, until she granted her night with Aisha. She granted all her nights to Aisha, and we'll talk about the reason for that at a later time. طيب. But however, what Ahl Ilm mentioned is say that it was not an obligation, but he still justly distributed his time, alayhi salatu wasalam, amongst his wives, or amongst his families. What is extracted from this hadith or this dua? Number one is from the fawaid that even Ibn Uthaymeen mentions, it says, أَنَّ مَا لَا يَمْلِكُهُ الْإِنسَانَ لَا يُلَامُ عَلَيْهِ. Number one, if you look in your books from the hadith, for number one that we extracted from it is that is not what a person does not own, what is not in his control, he's not blameworthy upon it. He's not blameworthy upon it. As it says in the dua, فَلَا تَلُمْنِي فِي مَا لَا أَمْلِكُ. Do not hold me blameworthy for what I do not control, or what I do not own. For a person might come and now argue and say, for example, this benefit that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said that he made dua to Allah that Allah did not hold him what? Accountable. And if he's not been held accountable, so why does he need dua? So a person might ask this question. If he's not held accountable, why would he have to make this dua? Why would he have to make this supplication? However, we say that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, that he said this, وَإِنْ كَانَ مُحَقِّقًا فَإِنَّ الْمُحَقِّقِ قَدْ يُدْعَى لِوُجُودِهِ لِتَحْقِيقِهِ وَتَثْبِيتِهِ. Of course. He says, even though that which has been already carried out and established, which is known, that he cannot be what? Just in the affair, he still can make dua due to the fact that it's there or exists, in order to put more emphasis on it and to make it more established more. Put more emphasis on it and to make it more established even more and to keep it firm. Is that clear what I'm saying, everyone? So for that reason, for example, we say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, wallahu yaqul fi kitabi, inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Verily Allah and the malaika yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. In the ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, verily Allah and His angels, that they what? They send blessings on the Prophet ﷺ, of course. This is something that's been what? It's already established. Whether we do it or what? Or not do it. It's still established, the affair. However, if you notice in the ayah, what does it say? Even though it's already been established and it's already there, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the ayah? Send blessings and salutations upon him. Even though the affair is already what? Established. So in this regard, we're saying that what? The same thing. Even though the person is not held accountable, this dua helps to what? Put emphasis on the affair, and for one to what? To establish it and make it firm and to make it stable. فَإِذَنْ الصَّلَاةُ عَلَيْهِ مُحَقَّقًا is when you know to send the salutations upon the Prophet. Something already established. It's actualized. مُحَقَّقًا. It's actualized. It's carried out. Whether a person makes dua for the Prophet or he doesn't leave it off, it's still going to what? Still going to what, everyone? It's still going to carry out. However, he says, وَلَكِنْ هَذَا مِنْ بَابِ زِيَادَةِ التَّحْقِيقِ. It's from the actual, it's from the affair or the aspect of putting emphasis and augmenting that actualization. And putting emphasis on it. So when the Prophet ﷺ made this dua, لا تلومني فيما لا تملك ولا أملك. Do not hold me accountable, do not hold me blameworthy for what you own or what you control and I don't control. Even though at the same time a person is not what? Blameworthy. طيب. From the fawaid of the hadith, likewise, is that mahabba, there's no way for a person can what? Control it. Of what is in his heart. Right, everyone? That is also from the affair or from the benefits of the hadith. Also from the benefits of the hadith is أن ما كان ناشئا عن المحبة من عدم العدل فإن الإنسان لا يلام عليه. فمثلا الإنسان إذا كان يحب إحدى الزوجتين أكثر من الأخرى فإنه لا شك يرتاح للمحبوبة عنده أكثر من الأولى حتى في المخاطبة والمكالمة والمداعبة وغير ذلك. He says from the fawaid of the hadith, he said that which came as a result of mahabba is that there will not be just in that matter, which is in what? Which is in love. So, just or being just does not play, nor is it applicable to this what? To this affair. You understand, everyone? And that's mentioned in the ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا تميلوا كل الميل فتجعلها كالمعلقة. Do not be inclined, a total inclination. So Allah ta'ala is saying that there's going to be what? There's going to be an inclination. That it's still there. Huh? كيف؟ فتذروها كالمعلقة. جيد. You will leave her like in suspended animation. طيب, فإذن the ayah, يا معشر الإخوة, جزاك الله خيرا. In regards to the ayah, there's still an inclination that is what? Still there. Right or wrong? For that inclination is in regards to love. He said, فَمَثَلًا, for a person, he might love one of his two wives more than the other. And no doubt that he'll probably be more comfortable to the one he loves more than the other. Even as far as in speaking to each other and talking to each other, even playing around, and other than that. You'll find, and sometimes in some cases especially, if there's bad dealings with one wife, he says you'll find that even if he speaks to her, he'll find difficulty talking to her. Especially if she's not a woman that tries to fulfill her obligations and she has bad etiquette, you'll find that it is hard for him to what? To deal with her in that manner. That's the reason why we'll also talk about sisters. Sisters, that when your husband comes in your house, you should learn how to smile, learn how to look pretty, look feminine to the best of your ability. We're not talking to go all out on your daily basis. On special occasions in the nights, that's something different. We're just talking about during the day. To have yourself looking in a presentable manner, to the best of your ability. Not having your hair sticking up in the air. Not having, for example, you find ashy hands or ashy ankles or ashy feet. It's sad, but due to the fact of the lack of cultivation, even the women now are not feminine anymore. and the lack of cultivation, the men are not masculine anymore. It's an opposite effect. The men are not masculine, and the women are not feminine. You find that the women are masculine, and now we're not saying that's even part of masculinity. Even that's just plain wrong. Because women don't want to see men with ashy hands and ashy feet either. So that's not masculinity. It's just absolute wrong in all aspects. You understand, everyone? So, but it's even more of of something of a turnoff that a man want to see a woman soft and she looks just as strong as you or just as rough. You understand, everyone? So a man, when he sees a woman that she's acting, or she comes in and smiles in his face, and she's soft, then a man more than likely is going to be comfortable and want to speak to her, and talk to her, and be interactive, and to interact with her, and to love to want to speak and sit down and converse with her a little bit, and all these other matters. Because he likes to what? To look at her, and she likes to look at him. But if you come in, your hair is sticking up, and then you come in and you speaking to him in a very disrespectful manner. Oh, you home? Oh, okay. Come in, salam alaikum. Make salam. You here now? You 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. Where my food at? Where is this at? To the end of it. Now the man does not really want to what? He's going to find it's going to be hard to speak to you, and it's going to be hard for him to what? Open up to you. We need to really work on how to speak to each other, brothers and sisters. Working on how to start off as an introduction to your house. Simple things make your household very happy, in which men and women do not do in their households. And I say to brothers, what's wrong with coming in the house and hugging your wife? What's wrong with that? America teaches that this is something that's soft. This is not soft. This is something the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba used to do. So how is it soft? Rather you not doing this, you're actually being soft. Because you're not brave enough to practice Kitab and Sunnah. So you're soft. There's nothing wrong with coming in the house and kissing your wife on the cheek. There's nothing wrong walking in the house kissing your wife on the forehead. There's nothing wrong walking in the house and hugging your wife. And sisters, the same thing. There's nothing wrong with you coming in, walking up to your husband, giving him a hug when he walks in the door. There's nothing wrong with giving him a kiss on the cheek. There's nothing wrong with smiling. These pleasant things makes one what? Comfortable in his house. Simple things. Makes the house comfortable, and it makes a man what? Comfortable, and it makes a woman what? Comfortable. Simple things we do that we always overlook, and it was things that will make our houses more comfortable. So the mas'ala, al-mukhataba, al-mukalama, al-muda'aba, of course, if a person that he finds and he walks in his house and he's comfortable with one, then he's going to what? He's going to be more comfortable with that wife than a wife that he walks into another house and she is looking any type of way, with any type of odor, and with any type of clothes on, with her hair sticking up in the air, and then she doesn't even want to even give you the least just to smile and say salamu alaikum. Of course you're going to find it hard to talk to her than a woman who does do that, right or wrong, everyone. For the woman who does do what she's supposed to do as a wife, then those things are more likely he's going to open up to that one instead of you. But even to the point where Ibn Uthaymeen much as it says, وَلِهَذَا تَجِدُ الْأُخْرَى الَّتِي يُبْغِضُهَا إِذَا تَكَلَّمْتَ كَأَنَّمَا تَضْرِبُهُ بِالسِّهَامِ. It says, وَالْأُخْرَى كَأَنَّمَا تُعَلِّقُهُ الْعَسَلِ يَرْتَاحُ لِلثَّانِيَةِ هذا من الأشياء التي لا يمكن ولا يملكها الإنسان. He said, for that reason, you'll find the other in which he hates. If he speaks, he says, as if arrows is being thrown at him. If she speaks, as if arrows is being thrown at him. And the other is as if when he speaks to her, then he says, if he's been attached to honey. Being attached to him honey. So, brothers and sisters, we need to work on trying to do the simplest things to make our households happy. In which a lot of women these days have mixed up, where they think that's part of masculinity for a man to walk in and talk to you. And I've heard this complaint from a lot of men. Now, of course, the complaints with the sisters, we'll talk about that. And I'll talk about that all the time. But the complaints I've heard from brothers, they say you try to be truly masculine to these women, where you show them respect, dignity, honor. You say you love them. I love you. I miss you. How you doing today? The women would say, what's wrong with you? You soft? So I'm asking, sister, what is your idea of a man? Because your mentality of a man is very mixed up. So your idea of a man is what? Coming in, saying the F word, smack you upside your head, chaos in the house, getting drunk, him looking like a street guy, looking like 50 Cent with some tight jeans on. What's your idea of a man? Your priorities and your ideal man is mixed up in your head. It's still in Jahiliyyah. Because this is something that the Sahaba used to do, and the Prophet ﷺ used to do. And he was a masculine man. Rather, he was the best of the masculine men that walked this earth, alayhi salatu wasalam. And he used to be like this to his women. He used to treat them kindly, talk with them with respect, talk with them with honor, talk with them with dignity, talk with them with integrity, treat them nice. He used to hug them. He used to kiss them. He used to treat a woman like she wanted to. A woman should be treated. So now we say to the sisters, so you're going to say the Prophet ﷺ was soft? Prophet ﷺ was a soft man? So when you say this to a man that's doing this, you need to ask yourself, was the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba soft? Was they soft men? Rather, they were the greatest of men, and they were the greatest of being masculine. They was the greatest of those who displayed a good example of masculinity. And this is how they used to treat their families. So sisters that say this out of their mouths, you really need to do a reevaluation of what is an ideal man to you. Because that is absolutely ridiculous to think that way. So this is what you look for. A man that comes in with some tight jeans in your house, looks at you, you stupid, dumb, H, B, whatever, smack you upside your head, comes on the phone, says disrespectful words. That's your ideal of masculinity. And it's sad because I've heard stories that women really do think that a man that hits them and smacks them and calls them out their name, that's masculinity. And it's sick. As far as the masalat al-jima', then we already talked about intimacy. I don't think there's no need for us to repeat it. طيب, next hadith. When the authority Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من كانت له امرأتان فمال إلى إحداهما دون الأخرى جاء يوم القيامة وشقه مائل. رواه أحمد والأربعة وسنده صحيح. When the authority Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu ardah. What time is it? I'm sorry. What time is it? We'll stop in a couple of minutes. When the authority Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. What is Abu Hurairah's name? Either Rajih. Abdur-Rahman ibn Sakhar al-Dawsi. Abdur-Rahman ibn Sakhar al-Dawsi. Abdur-Rahman ibn Sakhar al-Dawsi. He was originally from Yemen. He was originally, radiallahu anhu, Abdah from Yemen. On the authority of Abu Hurairah that the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned, it said, whoever has two women, two wives of course, because we've got to be clear in this, not two girlfriends, two wives. فَمَالَ إِلَىٰ إِحْدَاهُمَا دُونَ الْأُخْرَى جَاءَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَشِقُّهُ مَائِلٌ. Whoever has two wives and he leans towards the other, or is inclined towards the other, he's inclined towards one of them besides the other, he would come on the day of resurrection and his side will be leaning. And his side will be what? Leaning. For verily in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ gave a warning of being a male. Male, as we know, is inclination or being or leaning or being inclined towards something or inclination. The hadith here, it says, for his wives, besides the other, when the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man kanat," meaning here is in contrast to what we mentioned. Barak, yeah. I'm just going to give you something. The meaning of the hadith here, al-mail, is the inclination or the leaning that is blameworthy. As we know, there's a male or inclination or leaning that is not blameworthy, and there is an inclination in male that is what? Blameworthy. So everyone take that in consideration. Jayyid, so sisters need to know that. There is an inclination and a leaning that is not blameworthy. We just mentioned that in the previous hadith. Right, everyone? Fine. But there is one that is blameworthy, in which we'll explain right now, inshallah, bi'idhnillah jalla wa azz. Fine. What is blameworthy is what we just mentioned. And if you want to just sum it all up, it's the opposite of what we said from the previous hadith. It's the opposite. The hadith and the ayah. Both. These the ayah and the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ had made that dua, "Oh Allah, do not hold me accountable, or do not hold me blameworthy for what I do not own." Like the other ayah, in light of that, which basically that's the asl. Matter of fact, the ayah is the origin of why the ulama say that the meaning of the hadith is correct based upon that ayah. فَلَن تَسْتَطِيعُوا أَن تَعْدِلَ بَيْنَ النِّسَاءِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتُمْ. That's the asl. That's the origin. You will never be able to be just between your women, even if you had the utmost desire. That ayah is the origin, the foundation of why they say that the meaning of that hadith is what? Correct, even though the isnad is da'if, as Imam al-Bari mentions. Understand? For a hadith, when we take the meaning of it to be correct, it's because there's another dalil that lays down is what? That lays down the foundation and it aids its meaning, which is the ayah. So if you want to just sum up everything of what is the unlawful, impermissible inclination or leaning, it's the opposite of what we said. Like for example, a man, as far as in everything that we mentioned, spending, and as far as what? Of i'faf, as far as that which is pertaining to spending the nights, just mentioned the total opposite of what we said. You understand? Not al-hub. Hub is not inclined to it. It's not in there. Huh? Al-mahabba is not included in that. That's excluded. But what's outwardly manifested is excluded. Excuse me, included. You're right. What's outwardly manifested is included. It's included. So the opposite of that will make you fall into what contradicts what we just mentioned, will make you fall into what? Mayl, which is the blameworthy mayl, or the blameworthy inclination or leaning. Such as, for example, we could give opposite of what we mentioned last lesson. For example, what everyone? You have a wife, or another wife. Let's just say you have 2 children by one and 2 children by the other. It's not time to play with a car. It's not time. Put the car down. Put it down. Take it and put it right here. For verily, if you want to play, you have to go upstairs. What you want to do? You want to send a lesson or you want to play? If you go play upstairs. Which one do you want to do? Play. In regards to, a person has he has 2 families. One has 2 kids, the other has what? 2 kids. Play. Their needs is just as the other needs of the other. All of them are equal as far as what they all equally need. So now, one was not intimate with one for days at a time. Doesn't give her her rights as far as i'faf. And he saves all his energy up for what? For one. In this case here, then what, everyone? Now you're falling into dhulm. Now you're falling into being unjust. And you're falling into oppression. Also, likewise, I don't like you. And the mind games that men play these days, because there's a lot of them that play a lot of mind games. And I notice that you shake your head of how many mind games men will try to play with one. They'll come to one wife, won't touch her for nights at a time. Then he'll come to an excuse to justify it. You say to her, you put on 10 pounds. That's the reason why I'm not touching you. Really though, brother? Oh, he'll even probably lie to justify it. He'll say, I smelled from your odor the other day. You didn't cook me. My dinner wasn't what I asked for the other night. Or the food wasn't good. So you made me mad. That's the reason why I don't want to touch you. And the sister's looking like, are you... Some women are intelligent. They be like, please, brother, come up with the nonsense. Really? Like, stop playing mind games. So just say you don't want to touch me because either you're not attracted or what, you just like the other one, so you're trying to save your energy for the other. Trying to play some games. Brothers think this stuff don't want it goes on. Especially in the city I'm from, Philadelphia. Ooh, you hear all the games that brothers play, you'd be like, whoa. And the games brothers play down here. Here it's a little more on a subtle manner. Philly, it's more open. And I say that with all frankness. Here and down the DC and DMV area, it's more subtle. But you peep it. And in Philly, they just open with it. They just bold. So what I'm saying is, in this regard, that we say these type of games that brothers play, now you're starting to fall into what? A blameworthy type of what? Inclination. You're starting to oppress the sister. I like this sister. I like the way she looked. So I'm going to buy her 5 overgarments, even though I haven't bought my wife nothing for probably a whole year or other for a couple, maybe 3 or 4 months, and she doesn't barely have what she needs. But I like the way this one looks, so I'm going to buy and treat her nicely in contrast to the other because this is the one that I'm like the most and the one I'm attracted to the most, so I'm going to get what she needs, and not just give her what she needs, I'm going to go beyond that. This is the type of blameworthy what? Inclination in which we're talking about now. So if you want to sum it up, it's all the opposite of what we mentioned. It's the opposite from what we mentioned of what is considered being just. Just take examples and what opposes that. You understand, everyone? Trust me, brothers do play a lot of mind games on these women. I listen to the games from brothers every day. The little games and the stuff that brothers do out here these days and the games they play with women, you just shake your head like, brother, subhanAllah. And then you have the brothers, the bitter women. The bitter women who do not know when they have something good, and they treat the brother who's sincere and genuine, treat him bad, even though he's the one that deserves the help. He's the one that really deserves to be treated fair. And he's just doing the best that he can, but he's still coming up short. Because that's just how it is. There's men out there who are genuine, who are sincere, but due to the fact the woman is bitter from the previous relationship, she treats him bad. Right? So in that regard, or some women out here don't know what is good at all because they've been dogged so much by so many men, they don't know what good is. That's another issue in our communities. They've been dogged by so many men out here to the point where they really don't know what good is. And then when a man is treating them the way they're supposed to be treated, they don't know how to act. They truly don't know. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to interact with a good man. I don't know what to do with him. I've been dogged so much. I've been smacked so much, disrespected so much, cursed at so much, called out by my name by all these other knuckleheads. Now this guy comes on, treats me, says he loves me. He wants to take me out, or he wants to he actually smiles in my face and he actually says kind words to me. Some women really don't know they don't know how to act towards that. They don't know how to react. They really don't. Brothers out here, they probably looking at me surprised, but it's out here. They really don't know how to act. They don't know what good treatment is. You understand, everyone? So all these things, to sum up, would alleviate a lot of these problems, is just to look at the seerah of the Salaf. If you want to know, sister, what a good man is, look to the Prophet ﷺ, how he treated his wives and the Sahaba. And men, if you want to know good treatment is of a woman, look to the statement likewise, the seerah of the Salaf and the Sahaba, of the Sahabiyat. And if you look to the seerah of the Salaf and how women were, it will blow your mind. How they would keep themselves looking pretty, how they would comb their hair and come in making sure they look feminine for a man, and also treating a man nice to make him comfortable in his household, make him happy. So, in regards to the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ warned of being inclined or leaning towards one woman or a specific woman and oppressing the other women. Another example of that, for example, like we just said, you come into one house, smile on one's face, and you come in the other and you barely want to even talk to her. That's another type of oppression. That's another type of oppression. How you treat one is how you should what? Treat the other. As far as in smiling, as far as in excellence and etiquette and good dealings. From this hadith, from his extracted from the benefits, is wujub al-adl bayn az-zawjatayn. It's obligatory for one to be just, and we already gave the definition of what just or being just is. Also from this hadith, what's the benefits of it, is the establishment of Yawm al-Ba'th, is the establishment of the day of resurrection. When the Prophet ﷺ said he will come on the day of resurrection. So this narration is to clearly show that the Prophet ﷺ is saying that what? There will be a reckoning and there will be a hereafter, in which all of us will be raised and we will be brought forth, showing what we put forth of good deeds and evil deeds. Also likewise, from the last part of this hadith, or from the last benefit that's extracted, al-jaza' min jins al-amal. Al-jaza' min jins al-amal. That the repayment is according to the type of action you did. The repayment is due to the action is in accordance to the type of action you've done. Because he was inclined away towards what? Of being just in this dunya, in which with the repayment for him in the day of resurrection, likewise he's going to be what? Leaning, which will be an absolute precise repayment. كيف يكون العدو? We already talked about that, alhamdulillah. We don't need to talk about that. We'll read this hadith and then we'll stop here. طيب. القسم للبكر والفرق. We'll read this hadith and then we'll stop. When the authority of Anas ibn Malik, what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, said, Anas ibn Malik mentioned, said, that is from the sunnah, إذا تزوج الرجل البكرة على الثيب أقام عندها سبعا ثم قسم وإذا تزوج الثيب أقام عندها ثلاثا ثم قسم. That from the sunnah is that a man, that if he gets married to a virgin over a woman that's a thayyib, who's been married, that he establishes with her how many nights, or how many days and nights? 7. Then he starts to distribute his time properly. And if he marries a woman that's been married, which is a thayyib, then he stays with her how many? 3. Then he thumma qasam. Then he distributes his time and accordingly and properly. Right? Hadith is muttafaqun alayh. There was a situation that was just brought up to me last night. Matter of fact, I'll leave that off. We'll talk about this later in a later time. The situation along this time. But anyway, it was a good and a bad situation. It was bad from my aspect and it was good from another. It was bad from my aspect and it was good from another. I'll talk about that a little bit later on a different occasion, inshallah. But the end result is that it was good in the end. No, it was a little bit traumatic what happened. It's traumatic. Allah Mustaan, this country is Allah Mustaan. How many women and how many brothers, all of us know that somebody's been touched by someone in their family. I know a lot of people. A lot. That's how to show how filthy and nasty this country is. That I've people, not only from family members that I've known been touched, people of previous relationships, of a sister I've been married to before prior, people now that I'm around have all told me stories that they've been touched when they was little kids. And my wife's friends can tell you stories. They've been touched by a man when they were little. And the list goes on. And I think a brother brought me, one of my good brothers brought me he sent me the nisba, or the level of how many kids are touched in America on a daily basis from someone in their family or relative or uncle or father or brother or cousin. And he says two or three girls out of, is it 2 or 3 out of 5 are touched in America sexually at a young age. I think it's 3 out of 5 are touched by somebody in their family. 3 out of 5, that's nasty. That's a lot. That's a high number. I think 3 out of 5 women or something like that. I have to check again, but he sent it to me. 60%, that's a high ratio, are touched by somebody in their family, or some uncle, or some cousin, or some brother, or some friend. It's sad. So basically, to sum it up, that's what happened. So the brother asked me, he says, she confessed and told me, which was an honorable thing that she did, a very noble thing. Because some women hide it. They don't want to tell it. And then this is the problem that goes on in our communities. You'll find a sister that's been touched, so she has a lot of issues. So she'll come into marriage with a man, and she's acting very funny. He's trying to figure her out. What's wrong with you? She doesn't want to say nothing. I'm not saying nothing. So man's trying to figure out her behavior. What's going on? So now he's getting oppressed because he's trying to figure out what's going on with my wife. Like, what's up with her? He can't figure it out. But the woman has been touched by somebody in the family. So for a woman directly to confess that at the beginning of marriage, I tip my hat off to her, and that's something she did that was noble and honorable. Because a lot of women these days don't confess that. So now the man that hears that, I have the choice now to figure out now, I know what I'm dealing with. So I know if she acts funny, I know how to deal with her. You understand what I'm saying? I know you gave me the choice, and now, alhamdulillah, you was honest, so now I know how to deal with you. So if you act funny, I can accommodate you. I could deal with you in a manner that is accommodating. I can aid you. I can help you. But if you have a woman now that doesn't admit it, and she's just acting crazy, you're just like, what's going on? I don't know what to do. I keep asking her. She's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, well, but did I do something? No, it's not nothing wrong with you. You just leave me alone. I don't want to be bothered. It's like, okay, what do I do? These are the type of social ills we deal with. So what happened was she confessed. So now the brother asked me, now how's this related to the hadith? How's it related? He said, do I stay with her, give her the haqq of a thayyib or haqq of a virgin? I said, give her the haqq of a virgin. Because she doesn't deserve that. She didn't, that wasn't her choice. Or what happened to her. If she was raped or what have you, give her the haqq as a virgin. Because if you give her the haqq of a thayyib, it's going to break her down mentally, like, subhanAllah, I get deprived of a reward because of something I had no control over. So I said, just give her the haqq as a virgin. So it can keep her heart, happy, and it can keep her heart feeling good about herself. So that's what I was talking about here. You understand? Our country, a'udhu billah, from this place that we live, a'udhu billah, shaykh. This stuff I hear, subhanAllah. This probably from this social media and this porn and all this other stuff. May Allah aid us. طيب, we'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل. Brother, hold on for 1 second, Talut. The brother says 70% of all reported sexual assaults, including assaults on adults, occur to children 17 and under. 85% of child abuse victims never report their abuse. 85%? La ilaha illallah. 85% of child abuse victims never report their abuse. Woo. The average serial child molester may have as many as 400 victims in his lifetime. The average. 70% of all reported sexual assaults included on adults occurred to children ages 17 and under. 85% of child abuse victims never report their abuse. That's the reason why I tell brothers with these children out here, brothers, please step up to the plate and raise these children. And if you know that the woman you're marrying, and this is what I don't understand, because if I'm marrying a woman and she has, let's just say her daughter is a beautiful little girl or what have you, the furthest thing from my mind is to want to be intimate with her. That's the furthest thing from my mind. But there's men out here, I guess there's the type of men that's out here now these days, they get attracted. So due to the fact, I say just for precautionary measure, brothers, if you marry a woman, you find that the daughter is more attractive than the woman you're marrying, don't marry her. Just to save your religion and save yourself. But I don't understand why, and I still don't understand if I marry a woman and it's just sad that we don't live in days and times where nobility and honor is like, it's not there no more. Class, nobility, honor, chivalry, it's gone. Like I said, the furthest thing from my mind when I'm coming to marry a woman, what I'm going to come in is I want to build a family with this woman. Her children is my children now. Her children is my children. We're going to raise these children. We're going to all work together. That's how all the Muslims should be doing, to me, because we're in a state of crisis now. People don't realize that things are going good. No, it isn't. We're in a state of emergency, in a state of a crisis. Brother, people need to be coming together to build these families. Brothers got to realize the only way, you see every foreigner that come over here all come up. Why? They all stick together. They all come together, they're families. Everybody's a family. They come together. They work together. They all try to build each other up. Us, no. Everybody want to get what they can get out of what they can get out of. Then if I don't get my way, bye, I'm out. It's either my way or the highway. All of us, women and men, we always ego tripping. For nothing. And then at the end of the day, we all have nothing. So my thing is that the only way that is going to rectify is that, brothers, please, if I marry a woman now, I'm coming to a marriage, she has 3 or 4 kids. I'm looking at the situation. Her kids is my kids now. I'm not looking at it that, listen, these are your kids, these are mine. I ain't got to do nothing for them. Islamically, yes, absolutely. As I said in the lesson, what did I say? No doubt. Islamically, you do not. It's not an obligation. But due to the fact that we're in a state of a crisis, I'm asking brothers, please start raising these children and helping them. Because they're subjected to the society where 3 things they're either going to be. Either incarcerated, dead, or a homo. If they don't get raised properly. That's what's out here right now. They either calling you to be an idiot, be on social media, doing something stupid you shouldn't be doing, committing a crime, going out here, imitating one of these nasty rappers so you become a homo, or what? Or you're dead. That's all that's out here for these kids out here now. Incarceration, death, or being a homosexual. So that's the reason why I tell brothers to step up to the plate, have some class, have some honor, nobility. Marry these children, raise them. And the furthest thing that should be from your mind is trying to have sex with the daughter of the wife you marry. That would be the furthest thing from my mind. That's the furthest thing from my mind. But if you know that you're a man and that's your test, that Allah has tested you with it, then don't marry this sister then. Better than you now giving her a bunch of issues, giving the wife another bunch of issues, and on the sisters note. And I'm going to come at the sisters too. Sisters, y'all need to start raising these little fresh behind girls too. These little hot girls at an early age and putting them in their place. And I'm not saying treating them bad and say, you're going to get out my house. No. But starting to treat them with manners, starting to treat them to act like a lady, and put in their mind that this is my husband. This is not your boyfriend, and this is not somebody that's just a regular normal man. You need to look at this as my husband. And it's going to be a husband and daughter relationship. Instilling that and teaching them that. And also likewise, adults need to watch how they talk around their children. And also they need to make sure their children are not involved in their conversations. Because this is how these little girls get real hot. Because they be hearing about adult conversations about sex or what have you. Then you find that the children are getting what? Hot at an early age. And I noticed this about a lot of Muslim households. The children are around and they hear adult conversations. They hear things they shouldn't be listening to. When they hear these adult conversations, they need to get out. And you need to tell them to leave the room or go somewhere. And if I see you ear hustling, I'm going to smack you. And I mean in the face. I'm talking about maybe in your body. You understand? Because this is how these little children get a little hot and they start thinking about nasty things at early ages when you need to be a child. Enjoy your being a child, because I'm sure every adult in this room would love to be a child again. All of us say it. Man, subhanAllah, life is so rough. I don't even like being an adult. I want to be a child again. I ain't got to pay any bills. I ain't got to worry about nothing except just be Muslim, learn my religion, read Quran, do what and just play every day and smile and enjoy life. Then being an adult and all these responsibilities and headaches and bumps and bruises of life now is hitting me. But that's the last thing we'll start. When we'll stop on this note, we'll continue next week, inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.